In just 7 sentences, St. James urges us to be patient 4 times. Be patient, brothers and sisters, until the coming of the Lord. See how the farmer waits for the precious fruit of the earth, being patient with it until it receives the early and the late rains? You too must be patient. Make your hearts firm, because the coming of the Lord is at hand. Don't complain about one another, that you may not be judged. Behold, the judge is standing before the gates. Take as an example of hardship and patience the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord. It's as though he knows us, as though he sees us with our children, with our siblings, with our aging parents, with our pastor. When are we going to get the next update on the church? Be patient, St. James says. Oh, and then there's driving, traffic, other drivers. Just yesterday on the way to the gym, I heard myself say out loud to the guy in front of me, "Dude, what are you doing?" It reminded me of this extraordinary episode a month or two ago. I was driving from the academy on Merlin to the bank next to Price Chopper, and I was at the roundabout. Roundabout has a speed limit of like 15 miles an hour, 20, something like that, not too fast. It has 2 lanes, and I was in the left lane just about to come out of the roundabout where the lanes are merging into one, but someone behind me wanted to overtake me, or he attempted to overtake me, but evidently his Kia was not quite fast enough to do it, because he only got to my rear bumper, or maybe at best my rear wheel. And then the lanes collapsed, and so did he. Gestures started flying from that vehicle. And then he whips out his phone and starts recording me. And I think, ooh, I'm going to be famous. This continues up Merlin, and I think, okay, enough's enough. It's time that I lose him. So I wait to the last minute to turn into Price Chopper's parking lot, and I do it, and sure enough, he overshoots. But that doesn't stop him from flipping a U in Merlin to follow me to the bank. I think it was just fortunate that I pulled up to the teller and there would have been a third party witnessing whatever was coming next. So he goes on his way, but I can see him as he's leaving still filming me. It was unbelievable. And I thought, what must his life be like to do that? Patience, right? St. Thomas Aquinas says that patience is that virtue which clings to the good in the face of forces that would pull you away from the good. It's the virtue which helps you to cling to the good in the face of forces that would pull you away from the good. And surprisingly, he said that force is sorrow. We often might think of it as anger, but he says anger is counteracted by mildness. He said patience has to do with sorrow, like you lose hope. This isn't going to get any better. You begin to despair, and then you lose patience. He, Aquinas, categorized patience under the virtue of fortitude, as bearing trials or hardships bravely. Right, so the question becomes, what good are you losing sight of as the sorrows begin to work on you? Or with your children, for example. Do your homework, do your homework, do your homework. Clean your room, clean your room, clean your room. And then poof, there's an explosion. And you've lost sight of the good, which isn't just accomplishing a worksheet, but it's what? Cultivating a responsibility. Maybe perseverance in doing things that you don't like so much, but there is a value nevertheless to doing them. Or, it could be with a spouse, let's say, for example. It doesn't have to be an explosion. It could be, I desire to be closer, more intimate, more emotionally connected with my spouse. And I try to talk with him. But he doesn't listen, and he doesn't listen. And instead of exploding, well, sadness overwhelms you, and you just begin to veg out and scroll and quit trying. Or maybe with aging parents, right? Their mind begins to go, and you have to repeat yourself over and over again. And then you lose it. And you lost sight of what? Maybe accompanying them in their final years, giving back to them something of that which they have given to you. Patience is that virtue which clings to the good in the face of sorrows. We can begin to see why Aquinas says that true, perfect patience requires charity, by which he ultimately meant the love of God. No one is truly patient, he wrote, unless he bears evils for the sake of God. But remember, God is not just good, but God is goodness itself. He is the good. So when we're resisting sorrow and clinging to the good of your children, your spouse, your friends, your parents, you're seeking to align that specific situation with the good, with God. You're loving him, which is being reflected in how you're engaging with that particular person, even when that person is yourself. Friends, in one of the earliest Christian writings on patience, Tertullian from the 2nd century argued that no Christian virtue can last without patience. Charity needs patience to bear the faults of others. Faith needs patience to endure trials. And hope needs patience to await fulfillment, which I personally think is why we're given this reading from St. James at this liturgical time of the year. God has already come to our aid in the incarnation, which is extended in time through the sacraments, like confessions that we could go to this week. This is the basis of Gaudete, Rejoice, Rose Sunday. God has not forgotten about you or your hardships or trials. Don't lose heart. Be patient. The Lord is not far away. Soon he will return.